Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Conception Channel. I am your host, Spence Pentland, and today's short podcast or video, however you're tuning in, is on sperm and alcohol. Should you stop drinking when trying to get pregnant? Let's dive right in. This whole presentation or podcast or video, a review of my own, summary of my own, is based on a narrative review, basically a review of the most current literature published in December 29th, 2021. So quite recent as of posting of this video. It was published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, titled Impact of Alcohol Consumption on Male Fertility Potential by Finelli et al. Collaboration from the Department of Environmental, Biological, and Pharmaceutical Sciences and Technologies at the University of Campania, Luigi Vanvitelli, Caserta, Italy, and the American Center for Reproductive Medicine, Cleveland Clinic, Cleveland, Ohio, USA. And the link is there. If you're on the video, you may be able to click on that for if you want to reference and see the full review. So the verdict is in. The negative impact of ethanol on male fertility is a confirmed hypothesis. In other words, alcohol is bad for male fertility. Now, we might want to break up, how much alcohol, moderate to excessive, is what the review concluded. So what does that? You have to look into the literature to understand what that means and how that could potentially impact you on a genetic level, how you metabolize alcohol, all kinds of things. But if you feel like you drink too much, this applies to you. If you feel like you have continued to consume alcohol and you're having trouble getting pregnant, maybe it's time to stop. It could be impacting your sperm and your ability to get pregnant. And not only that, clinically, alcohol consumption has been correlated with an increased incidence of different types of cancer, cardiovascular and liver diseases, birth defects, psychiatric disorders. Basically, alcohol is poison, and it raises your chances of all-cause mortality. And it affects your sleep, and poor sleep also raises your chances of infertility and all-cause mortality. So it's important to take breaks. Your liver will thank you, and your potential for future parenthood is going to increase. From a reproductive standpoint, initially there can be alterations of the secondary sexual characteristics, such as reduction in facial hair and body hair, enlargement of breasts or gynecomastia, and accumulation of adipose or fat tissue from the abdominal area to the hips. So this is largely due in part to the imbalance that's created from drinking alcohol between testosterone lowering and estrogen increase. So how ethanol or alcohol affects fertility. And most importantly, it induces cellular damage, so it damages our cells, primarily by reducing levels of NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, which largely is a protector of our DNA inside of our cells. So DNA damage, you see that in sperm, and glutathione levels, which would be it's a tripeptide, it's our master antioxidant, which helps protect our cells and our mitochondria so they function optimally. And these things are well known to be very important in the anti-aging community and research. So we want to keep ovaries and sperm young. That's the whole idea. So it reduces NAD and glutathione. It impacts sex hormone levels. And like we just said in the previous slide, testosterone, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, which is what produces sperm, and LH, luteinizing hormone, which is what in part is produces testosterone. It just overall, alcohol decreases semen quality. That's kind of the premise of the whole presentation. Ethanol's genotoxic, so it damages DNA in particular, and how DNA folds and replicates. So DNA damage in sperm is something that's being looked into a lot more these days, and alcohol can be partly attributed to that if that has been found. Alcohol reduces the sperm's ability to fertilize the egg as well. That is an important piece. It can also affect sexual performance. Now, the caveat here is a drink or two. Try and keep it small batch, biodynamic, supporting local good winemakers or alcohol makers that are giving you a product that isn't full of all kinds of additives and is clean, and the alcohol content on it is what it says. Support biodynamic. That's a message I want to give. That's a farming practice, particularly for wine. So far, not many of those, but one or two of those drinks might, spark the mood. But overall, too much alcohol affects sexual performance, erectile function negatively. Again, it causes gynecomastia, or enlargement of the breasts, because of increase of estrogen, decrease of testosterone. There can be changes to the testes and seminal vesicles, so sexual organs. We've seen this in animal models over and over. An increase in prolactin, also a hormone, stress hormone, which causes hypogonadism, or a shrinking of the testicles, and also altered weights of the prostate. So there's ramifications beyond. And maybe most importantly, the final point here, transgenerational effects on the health and fertility of the offspring. So that means alcohol can affect the baby's health. So that is maybe the most important piece here. This is just kind of a diagram that shows, in the top right here, oxidative stress, which is high levels of oxidative markers and reduced antioxidant capacity. That's the NAD and the glutathione that we were speaking to, and super oxidase dismutase. They're reduced when people are drinking. It's genotoxic. It affects DNA, and also accelerates aging, or telomere shortening, which is connected to lifespan. Apoptosis, or cell death, mitochondrial damage, and inflammation in the top left, which we can understand probably primarily why we feel bad the next day. High levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines are produced. Inflammasome, hepatic problems. It affects the liver, of course, and everything also from our arteries to our heart to our neurons are impacted. So flipping back, the transgenerational effect, just want to really highlight this before we wrap up here. The transgenerational effect of paternal alcohol exposure has been shown to cause low birth weights and altered organ weights in the offspring. Critical alterations have been found in the brains of offspring. Reduced anogenital distance, which is a male fertility marker indicating that alcohol may have an adverse effect on reproductive development. So the distance between the anus and the genitals is a marker for fertility. And reproductive dysfunctions, similar to those reported for direct alcohol consumption, including alterations in the hormonal system and semen quality. So this is the offspring, remember. So basically, it seems like a lot of the same things that impact how it impacts the male that is drinking the alcohol can impact the offspring in very similar ways, and that's reason enough to lay off or cut way back while you're trying to conceive. So in conclusion, besides being an important public and social issue, alcohol consumption can also significantly impact male reproduction. That is a confirmed hypothesis. It's just fact. The association between chronic alcohol consumption and poor semen quality has been reported in large number of studies in both humans and animals. And it's mainly due to excessive reactive oxygen species that are being generated following the ethanol metabolism or alcohol consumption. By acting as genotoxic agents, ethanol and its metabolites alter the expression of genes involved in the hormonal regulation of spermatogenesis, or the creation of sperm, and increase sperm DNA fragmentation, potentially also finally, and most importantly, with the transgenerational effect on the offspring, can impact the babies. Thank you for tuning in. I welcome any questions, comments below. This is a bit of a heated topic, but it seems to be, conclusive whether you like it or not. It's time to put the bottle down for a bit and pick it back up later if you really need to, or just feel the benefits of not having alcohol in your life. It's liberating. Take a break.